July the 20th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at earthquake information. This is coming just off the coast of Russia on the island of Kamchatka. And it's not a heavily populated area, but we've had a 7.4 quake, followed by a couple of sixes in there. And it's followed, we just had the one right across the Aleutian chain, a 7.3, about a week ago. But it says the larger quake was at a depth of 12 miles and 89 miles east of the city of Petropavlovsk, Kamchatka, which has a population of 180,000 according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Now, it's mostly a big volcanic island, cold, but you have in the bays and areas like that, you have these population centers, and that's where it becomes a danger for tsunamis. Now, I looked at the U.S. Geo tsunami map, and there are no longer any tsunami warnings for this area. It says the German Research Center for Geosciences, GFC, indicated twin earthquakes of over 6.5 magnitude near the coast of Kamchatka in Russia's far east early today on Sunday. Again, the USGS is registering this as a 7.4, the larger ones. Let's take a look at that. It's in a very interesting part of the world as far as the Ring of Fire goes. Now, from the USGS, let's pull this out, take a look at it. Again, Ring of Fire, this was a site of our big 7.3. Now we got the 7.4. There's a 6. Let me get this a little closer. Right hidden right there, 6.6. Right behind it is the 7.4. All of this very powerful quakes, guys. And if you look here, there's that's the newest one, just popped up, 5.0. So there's a lot of activity going on here. Again, a volcanic island. Population centers, I've got it turned on in the overlay. And here would be the problem. This is that Petropavlovsk, I think it is. And the black dots indicate that it has some population, very little on the entire island compared to what we see mostly along the bay areas, and that's why it was important about this particular tsunami warning. Now notice again, Ring of Fire, and I've done videos where I pointed out what I think are major impact points on our planet back in the day from very large asteroids or comets. And if you look at the right angle right here, almost right angle, that's not a very natural occurrence in the upper sections of the Ring of Fire. And if you look at the coastline, it pretty much, and follow this line right here, I think that's pretty much where the original line was. You got the Aleutian chain here, again, population density is on. You've got just a few people scattered here and there all through the Aleutian chain. Gets back in towards Alaska, and you can see it, and of course, San Francisco, LA, through all Oakland, Washington. But right here, this angle is very strange. It and is a very weak point in the top of the Ring of Fire. We've seen it many times. But the impact point was right here. You only see these big curves and push-outs from an impact point. You can see right here would hit. Now, I don't know how far this one goes back because they don't talk about it. But we do know that several asteroids or comets, meteors, had hit the North American ice plates, and that's just over to your right. But there's others that are very obvious. Again, they'll strike. They're going to push up a group of islands like this, and you can see it through the underwater scans that they use. And not much population throughout the areas at all, just a little bit. Not like, again, what you see when we come over to the U.S. Here's San Francisco. Oakland is really populated, of course. L.A. You come across and you can see all the big cities. Houston, Dallas, here, Jackson, Mississippi, and throughout. But the area that we're talking about now is not that populated. Now, one thing I want to point out, because the geology of the Earth when you're dealing with earthquakes is very important. Now, here's the impact point right there. But look at this crack right here. One coming straight down, kind of like a no fault, and then definitely a very deep one coming through this area. And they both run into one of the large cracks here that transcends or trans its way across the Pacific Ocean and hits right here at the base of where we were about the big faults of the San Andreas. This is the northern section. All of this is very dangerous area right in here, guys. We've seen it before, this section. We call it the Cascadia Fault Zone. Both of these fault zones and this line connection, again, comes into the San Andreas Fault right here. So we've seen, again, the quakes here. Now we're seeing a bunch of very powerful quakes here. But again, the tsunami warnings have not, are saying no tsunami indicated at this point. Initially, they were up. But there's other impact points that are, besides this one, that are very interesting to me. And one of the ancient maps that they don't know, they found it, they don't know who made it and all, but it definitely shows something right down here, and that's that South America was connected with Antarctica. And the maps come down and they show it all the way around through here. And this is where when we saw 400 foot of ice melt from the North American plates, this probably was a little bit more out of the water right here. But anyway, the maps show this a continuing line and around into the Antarctic. You can probably see it. Joe Rogan has one on one of his podcasts. I've seen other people talk about it. But what happened was a large comet asteroid, or one of those hit right here. Now see how it tore the tip of South America this way and the tip of Antarctica this way, and then piled all of this debris up right here where it come to a sliding halt. Guys, these were very powerful impacts. These are world changers or world-ending impacts. How many Earth ages have we seen, or are we looking at on all of these three? This impact, and I'll show you one more, were they all during the same great comet or asteroid storm? But again, it's very obvious, and you've seen this same formation many times. Not here, but as we watch the hurricanes come in through the Caribbean. But again, it broke the continents. Look at that. And then your cracks start ensuing from the mantle being cracked from the impacts themselves. Now we know, and there's been a lot of study of one here. It's not real obvious as far as the impact point, but they say this one that hit here may have been the one that entered into the end of the dinosaur period. And there's a lot of places along the Yucatan and all with great caves that went underwater, things that looked like something big happened there. Now, the one that's the most obvious in this area is just like the one that tore the tip of South America and Antarctica apart, and it's right here. These are the islands coming in from the Atlantic that we watched during the hurricane season. The impact point was right about here. And when it hit, pushed the islands up above it, it created the Windward and Leeward Islands here that we see, the British Virgin Islands, all of that. And it come to a stop somewhere in this area. But that forward momentum, guys, impacted it really hard here. Again, and you see the cracks in the mantle. Look at that. Now, some civilizations were destroyed by those type impacts. Some went under the sea. When the ice packs melted above the North American continent, some places the ice was a mile deep. And so 400 foot of ocean rise occurred after all that ice melted. Now, there was great tsunamis that happened because of the comet strikes around the planet. Look at the size of those impact holes compared to some other ones that you see. I mean, a whole ocean, really. But Santorini is very interesting to me. It always has been because it's a beautiful place, but many people have tied it into Atlantis. Some say, no, it's not. That can't be. It's over in the eye of Africa. It's in the Bahamas and all of that, right? But there's a new study, and the final parts of it actually came out a couple of days ago. And they went back and looked very closely at Santorini and the other islands all the way across the Mediterranean into Egypt, and looked at things and natural events, big tsunamis. And again, we had tsunamis, but they said that Atlantis sunk beneath the waves, right? Well, when you have big comets hitting and the ice breaking up and the oceans rising and, again, powerful storms, you're going to have continents that also sink. But they talk about volcano, great tsunami, and then watching it sink. And all of this comes from the tales from Greece. But what they did, they went back and started looking at soil layers back in that day. They're starting to find volcanic activity and ash layers that matched the timing of when all of this happened. They did underwater ocean surveys showing that the large island that was talked about in Atlantis itself, there's still a mound there where that was, and the openings that were much smaller then are the harbor openings of that, but it's much deeper. It probably took months for them to get all of the information they could, but guys, when you look at it and look at the location of it, it looks like now they may have finally found it, because there's like 20 things that were mentioned in Greek writings about Atlantis. And so they did a checkpoint. I think it was 19 or 20 things that were pointed out. They did a checkpoint of all of those things, soil layers, vegetation growth, because it was supposed to be a beautiful place, Atlantis. Very massive plants grew everywhere. It was beautiful. It was kind of a paradise. And it got taken out. Now, I don't know if it was the hand of God, like some people say, or not, but I think it's natural events, a lot of these. I mean, we go through big meteors, we go through earthquakes, we go through tsunamis and ice ages and all of that. But again, it's very interesting, and I think that with the 19 or 20 checkpoints that they went through, again, from the ocean bottom here until up on the top of the mountains, and they talk about that big volcanic explosion and tsunami, and they found some of the same ash layers across the pond, as we want to call it, into Egypt. And massive destructive, evidence of massive destructive tsunamis there around the same period of time. And it's geology is very interesting to me. We're looking at a lot of things right now, guys, but I wanted to point out that the tsunamis warnings they came up for a moment and appear to be down over in Kamchatka, Russia. That's a good thing. But keep an eye on the Ring of Fire. You know, we have that subduction zone there, the Cascadian. We have the Great Fault, San Andreas, the one in the movies. So we know the faults are there. The mantle has been cracked quite a few times. And we're starting to have the technology now to actually look back in time with these scans and scientific data, and start to open up some of the mysteries of what did happen in ancient history. Now, one of the things that I'm working on, I may can get it up today, I'm not sure, has to do with Revelation chapter 10. And so if I have time, we'll get to it, but I think it's very pertinent to the days that we are in now. We're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.